Well, there we are, Richard. Festival's here again, and delighted for you to join us here on Betfred. Obviously, you've won the lot. You've won the Champion Hurdle, you've won the Stayers, of course, the Gold Cup twice. So many Cheltenham Festival winners, top jockey as well, 4-time Champion Jockey. Just tell us what it's like, the Cheltenham Festival. How is it different from the other 361 days of the year?
I think that's the thing. You can't explain it. It's almost a feeling that, you know, even I think when you walk in, whether you're even now as a spectator, you know, or when you're a jockey or a trainer and owner, you walk through the gates there, and there is just a buzz. There's a atmosphere, and if that doesn't excite you, to be honest, racing is probably not your sport. But and again, then obviously to the next level, when you ride a winner there, it's what we all dream of, and actually they're the memories you'll never forget. I think Native River, you know, because it was one of my last. That's one of the days that literally, you know, one of the best of my life.
Is it just like a drug, I guess? Is it the adrenaline of being led into that winner's enclosure?
Yeah, it is. Any race, as soon as you've ridden a winner, all you want to do is go back out and try and do it again. But Cheltenham is, again, just next level. And I think that's shown. You know, you see the Irish come over in their hordes. It's still almost, I think, it's where everybody wants to win. You know, you've got Fairyhouse, you've got Punchestown, you've got Leopardstown, you know, the Dublin Racing. You've got all these big other races, but Cheltenham in March is where every single owner wants to be. The French are, you know, their prize money's amazing, but they all still want that history of coming to Cheltenham in March. So again, you know, we're nearly in March now, sun's out, yeah, hopefully spring's in the air, and yeah, we're all looking forward to it.
You mentioned Native River, obviously you won the lot, but what would be your favourite memory when riding at the festival?
Like I say, I think he's one that I remember most, and I think because it was getting towards the end of my career, I think you appreciate things more. You know, when I was 22 on Looks Like Trouble, I just thought it was easy, and we'd be doing it every couple of years. But again, I think, yeah, I appreciated Native River because I knew how hard it was just to get a ride in the Gold Cup, let alone win it. I think Rooster Booster was probably a really big point in my career as well, and it was obviously, I think I'd have been riding for Philip Hobbs for my second or third season, and I think for both of us at the time, it was Rooster Booster was amazing. You know, he was a hardy sort of warrior that always ran in those big races. He went from being a handicapper to a champion hurdle horse, and again, he was on that day. He was unbelievable. So you can't recreate them.
You mentioned the Irish coming over in their hordes, of course. How do you feel about their domination right now? I mean, I know we'll talk about later. You're on about some of the novices coming through. You're quite excited by them, but you know, has it kind of added on the fourth day a bit of a dilution, because we've got 4 championship races and they've got 4 odds-on favourites in them? Yeah,
but I think 2 of our odds-on favourites in the championship races are actually English. So hopefully the English-Irish thing is, look, we're always going to be fighting to get back on top of the Irish. And I think that's part of it as well. It's English versus Ireland in a friendly way. You know, they obviously want to try and beat us, and we want to try and beat them. But I think that's always been, you know, Ireland have dominated. You know, 30, 40 years ago, we got on top, and then at the moment they're dominating. But you know, that's just an ongoing thing. But it is you want to see competitive racing. I think Cheltenham have made 1 or 2 changes through the 4 days. That have made some of the races more competitive, but you know, again, you know, some people would say the Ryanair probably takes away from the Champion Chase and the Gold Cup just purely because, you know, it gives people another option. Let's talk about the first one then. Champion Hurdle. Constitution Hill's obviously, like you say, one of those British. He's got a strong Irish challenge to fend off, but can he get back to as good as he was? Can he regain his crown? I hope so. And honestly, he looks great. Again, you know, Nicky Henderson obviously worked him at Kempton the other day, and you know, from 12 months before, I think it was a very different story. I think Nico de Bonville was really impressed by him. I think he's just a superstar. Do you mean? And you know, it was. You know, I think anyone could believe last year, 2 weeks before Cheltenham, suddenly he wasn't going to run. Nicky Henderson, who had the best team of horses to go to Cheltenham last year, suddenly his horses weren't right, and it was hard. You know, it was, you know, Nicky Henderson's done it all and, you know, won all the races, but still, that would have been very hard to take. So it's great to see the yard and him back there. But for me, Constitution Hill is definitely the one they've all got to beat, and I can't see how State Man can reverse the form with him. for me, Constitution Hill is the best horse.
And move on to the Champion Chase. Nicky Henderson, another odds-on favourite in Jonbon. Again, I get the feeling he's never really got the credit he deserves. Obviously, he's not won at the festival yet, but he has bumped into a couple of nice ones there. On his efforts this year, how far clear is he?
I think he's definitely been an improver. Obviously, again, he missed last year. But I feel like he's been very, very solid this year. I don't think you can knock anything he's done. I think Nico de Bonville as well has sort of really, as over the last 18 months, they've sort of grown together, and he's got the confidence to go forward with him and be quite bold. And I think that really suits Jonbon. And again, it's boring because he's going to be a very short price. But I think, on ratings and performances, he's the one everybody's got to beat.
Obviously, looking at the challenge, I mean, don't know where Gaelic Warrior's going to go. He's a bit of an enigma, and I'm sure Willie will have something up his sleeve to try and beat him. Yeah,
I think again, I'm sure all the four major championship races, we've got odds on favourites, but they won't all win. So it's trying to work out which ones perhaps got stronger opposition or aren't as good as we perhaps think they are. But I think Jonbon, he does tick all the boxes. There's horses that I'm sure will. I think there could be a couple of the Irish horses. Joseph O'Brien's horse can go forward. Again, if Enigman, if he runs as well, he loves to go forward. So it could be a really strong, hard gallop early. So at least you're going to get a true run race, which I think that's what it's great to see. If you see a champion chase should be fast and furious.
And obviously LA Francais as well. I mean, Noel George keeps changing his mind about where he's going to go.
If there's one horse I probably would really like to ride over fences that I've watched in the last 18 months is him. He was brilliant in the King George, and obviously everyone said, they went too quick or whatever else, but I think that's just his style, and he didn't quite stay. But you would think the Ryanair was probably the obvious option, but I suppose the ground will probably maybe a bit determine that as well. But again, if he turns up in the Champion Chase, he would be the really unknown that we're only guessing. His fractional times at Kempton were crazy for a 3-mile chase, and his jumping is so exuberant. But again, if some of those turn up, it could be a very fast and furious race.
The biggest price of the 4 championship races, Tiapu at a whopping 10 to 11. Is he the most vulnerable, or do you think he retains his title?
I can completely understand why they've done the same as they did last year. Like Gordon said when he ran in Fairyhouse, he said you won't see him again until Cheltenham. He's best fresh. He deserves to be favourite. He's won last year. Why shouldn't he be? But again, I think it's a more open race. Joseph O'Brien's horse, Home by the Lee, it's weird because he's not a youngster, but he's still he seems to be improving all the time. Again, I was speaking to Kevin Blake the other day, and who sort of does a lot of the race planning for Joseph O'Brien. He's very, very involved there. He said he really feels that this horse, still is going the right way and improving. And Tiapu is a very good horse, but definitely not unbeatable. So, Kevin Blake's a very clever man, and I would really respect, his views. So again, I think this is the most open race. I was looking down at the prices at some of the other horses in the race, and I did laugh that obviously Langadang is now I think got top weight in the Coral. So if he could win that off top weight, it would be probably a miracle. But again, he hasn't showed any form so far, and I'm sure Dan Skelton understands why. But again, it was amazing actually when we were looking down when he got beat in the conditional jockeys race. He got beat by Galopin Des Champs. So, I mean, it's amazing to look at some of these horses. They come back year after year at the festival. And I think him, if he runs in the stayers, he wouldn't be the most silly each way price at 10, 12 to 1. He ran really well in the race at Aintree last year. And I just think, he might be, I think the police might need to take Dan Skelton out before he gets lynched if Langadang was one to win a stayers hurdle. Still
have show good form. He's on his Guinness Village, favourite Guinness Village to run past. You mentioned Galopin Des Champs coming back year on year. I mean, really speaking, he should be going for his 5th straight Cheltenham win. It'll be his 3rd Gold Cup he's going for. Do you think he's scared off all the opposition and this is the easiest of the trio?
I think people are being, we'll see. Factorfile, again, he's still in the race, obviously. I suppose the ground, again, is probably important. Again, Kevin Blake with the Joseph O'Brien team, he said like he's bringing, quite a strong team over. They feel, and Banbridge is probably again another one like Factor File. As long as the ground is probably good to soft, not soft, Galopin Des Champs, he's getting a bit older. Horses do tend to lose a little bit of their speed. You just wonder whether, there is. I think it's going to be an Irish winner, one way or the other. Galopin Des Champs is definitely he's been very solid. We're trying to find reasons why he won't win, not almost being positive about him. That's we're looking to see whether one of the younger horses can come up. But I think Banbridge as well. If Ilias Afonso, if he was happened to go and run really well in the Champion Chase, or won the Ryanair, Banbridge End's form looks even stronger. So again, I think these horses are Grade 1 horses, and you shouldn't forget about them. I think we're all thinking Galopin Des Champs is just a walk-in certainty, but I think Factor File, he is a very, very good horse as well. But I just think if it's very soft ground, then Galopin Des Champs is getting stronger and stronger.
How would he rate amongst the greats, Galopin Des Champs, if he was to land a hat-trick?
I think it's very hard to say, but look, he has to be right up there. Just his constitution, and Willie Mullins, to get him to come back year on year, but at the same time, the horse's constitution to rock up at, let's say, 5 festivals. I know he fell at the last in one, but he would have won all of them. That's incredible. And Willie, he doesn't run him twice a year. He campaigns him really strongly. They don't sort of, wrap him up in cotton wool. But again, he's got to be up there with the best we've seen.
And what about the British Challenge? Obviously, only 5 entries originally. I know you were quoted on the back of that, but you think the tide may be turning?
I think we're. I think, as we said earlier, and we'll get onto it, that with the novice hurdlers, and you don't get Gold Cup horses just out of thin air. They have to come up through the ranks. But I do feel that it's at the moment we haven't got anything good enough to win the Gold Cup, and there's no point people entering 15 horses just because you want to run in the Gold Cup. You want the best 10, 12 horses to turn up for the Gold Cup, whether they're in France, Ireland, England. That's the most important thing. Cheltenham is about the best of the best. At the moment, we haven't got them. They've still got 5 entries that are very, very good, but it's whether they cohere or whether I would be half guessing that the horse Lucinda Russell's might go to Aintree. He loves it at Aintree, Hoy Senior. I'm presuming Venetia might well run Laurent Prez, but obviously he disappointed at Ascot the other day. So again, it's very hard to sort of think that they're confident of running big races. Hopefully one of them will run well and into a place, but the Irish have definitely got the strongest team.
There's so many starting out on the run to the Gold Cup now in novice hurdles this year, and you were quoted as saying you're quite excited by the youngsters, the novice hurdlers coming through. Which ones have taken your eye this season?
Well, I think the obvious one is the New Line, and he just looks, again, straightforward, like he's a big chasing type. I'm sure he's just going to get better and better. Again, I'm guessing he's going to run in the Turners. He's entered in everything, but you'd imagine that is where he's going to run. And again, you're hoping that what we see on the racecourses over here, you're hoping that is, against the Irish. We only find out really in March, so you're hoping that that's visually what we see. The Challow Hurdle hasn't got a great record of horses winning that and going on, but the way he won it, he couldn't have been more impressive. And I just think he is. The talent is there. Obviously, he's been bought by JP since then. But again, it's great to have those type of horses coming forward. And I think obviously the juvenile hurdle this year, in the Triumph, we've got sort of the first 3 in the betting. When you've got owners paying big money for great Group 1 winners off the flat, again, it's great to see, people getting involved, and there's a lot of people in Ireland have dug deep in their pockets to get nice horses, and there's owners doing it over here as well. So, and that is the bottom line. Buying the nice horses to start with, and that's luck of the draw who buys them.
Still going to get past Willie Mullins though. He's got obviously a couple of big ones. We saw the Dublin Racing Festival, I should say. Copec de Board and Final Demand.
Yeah, Copec de Board. I think he was the horse that from watching it and from listening to Willie after, even they were shocked. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not quite sure, but you couldn't not be blown away by his performance and beating other good horses like that as well. I thought Romeo Coolio of Gordon Elliott's was the interesting one. I think Cheltenham, the hustle and bustle of the race, would probably suit him. But again, I think Willie's horse, if he takes all the preliminaries in his stride, which apparently can get quite fractious, which again, Cheltenham there's much more of a buzz at Cheltenham and an atmosphere than there is, whether it's the Dublin Racing Festival or, I don't know, Gorham Park or Naas on a Thursday. Do you mean it's a really big arena for these horses, and the young horses sometimes can't cope with that. So it'd be interesting to see him in the paddock. I think if I was a punter, I'd wait until I saw him in the paddock. If he's nice and relaxed, he's probably the right horse to be on. And Final Demand, again, he was very impressive. He's done nothing wrong. But again, I think Final Demand is, he deserves to be favourite. But again, with the New Lion, they're probably very similar profiles. If the New Lion was trained by Willie Mullins, would he be 6-4 favourite, even money favourite, and would Final Demand be, 5-2? So I just think, as soon as a horse is trained by Willie Mullins, whether it's a bumper horse, novice hurdler, whatever, it is always probably shorter in the betting. So you sometimes it's worth looking at some other horses that have got a similar profile.
Look at the chasers, novice chaser, and robbed of Sergino, sadly, but obviously Majba looks to have an excellent chance. Dan Skelton's got a load of sud. I mean, it still looks at a pretty solid Arkle that Majba have to beat. And then we've got Ballyburn, of course, in the staying division. Now they've got rid of that 2.5 mile novice chase. Trainers and owners have had to make a decision.
Yeah, Majba, last year's Triumph Hurdle winner, he just ticks all the boxes. The only thing is that 5-year-olds used to get an allowance against the older horses in the novice chase category, where now the last few years they've taken that away. I don't think a 5-year-old's won it since they changed that rule. But again, he got course form. He looked again good at Dublin Racing Festival. The only thing is he's a good jumper, but he can make the odd sort of error or mistake. At Cheltenham, again, that probably is his only thing at a very short price. Do you want to take on do you want to back a horse at a very short price that I think it's only his third run of offences? It's he's still relatively unexposed to the fences, and Cheltenham is a undulating track. Everything happens quite quick. So yeah, that for me, that is the only slight worry. I don't think Dan Skelton's horses, if they both turned up in perfect form on the day, I don't think he's quite as good as the favourite. But again, he's a very consistent horse, knows how to win, likes it around Cheltenham. I'm sure he'll be thereabouts. Dan, I think, has really, gone down the same sort of route as, whether it's Nicky Henderson over here or Willie Mullins in Ireland. When he thinks he's got a good one, he trains it like a good horse and has, these targets in mind. So yeah, they're the two. I think Sergino was the horse that we were all, I couldn't get over how, I was surprised that Willie Mullins bought Ballyburn to Kempton, but to make a very good horse look sort of slow and like a handicapper, showed how good Sergino is. Just hoping he's back for next year, because he's obviously a very, very talented horse. But it's sad for everybody involved that he's got an injury. But leading on to Ballyburn, I just think he ticks all the boxes. Willie Mullins quite often brings them back to 2 miles. Some of his novices, even some of the older horses, to sharpen them up. And whether he thought it would be good practice for him going around Kempton, over a shorter trip, just to get him get his mind working. I'm guessing that was his thought, because to take on Sergino, anywhere other than Cheltenham, I was going to be surprised. And I suppose it also made them realise that definitely, they need to go for the 3 mile. But I think Ballyburn for me is the standout horse in the 3 mile division. And again, I think he's sort of a likely Gold Cup contender going forward. And again, I think that, like we said before, moving the 2.5 mile novice chase back to a handicap is really good, because I think it's made the good horses have to decide between 2 or 3. And that is the, Cheltenham are working to try, they want to produce very competitive racing. And I think that's definitely, for me, seems like a very, very positive move.
Well, you take us nice onto the handicaps then. Obviously, all the winners are in there, the entries are in, the weights are in. Just got to try and sift them out. Is there anything that's caught your eye? Obviously, you've done a few preview nights. Anything in the handicaps that's just going under the radar or you've actually latched onto?
Well, I think we were just talking earlier, obviously, Cold War Potter, I think it's interesting that he's going to run in the 2.5 mile novice handicap. Obviously, cost a huge amount of money, but that doesn't, the horse doesn't know that. He's a Grade 1 winner over hurdles. He probably has, to all intents and purposes, been a little bit disappointing for Paul Nicholls and his connections, but I just still feel that he's a Grade 1 horse running in a handicap. So you've got to, really think he's got to go there with a chance. I think he's about a 14 to 1 shot. I think he's a very good each way bet. He's had a go around Cheltenham. I think Paul Nicholls has probably, again, campaigned him to make sure he learns a bit what's going on. Obviously went to Carlisle for a sort of a small race to start with, but his next 2 assignments have been a lot harder, and I think he'd have learnt plenty. And I think this has probably always been in the back of Paul's mind that, if he didn't shine, this race, he needs 3 runs before he gets here. I won this race on a horse called Copper Blur for Philip Hobbs. He was placed in the Supreme Novice Hurdle. I do think horses with sort of Grade 1 form, when they drop down into handicap company, it really, it can be quite telling. And I think he just could be the class horse in the race that we've sort of forgotten about a little bit.
I'm going to put you on the spot now. 28 races. Which should be the one horse? Well, I'll give you 2 horses. One that I think would be your best bet of the week so far, but also one that if you come out of retirement and ride this week, which one would it be?
I think Jaguar of Ollie Greenhalgh's and Josh Guerra. He looks like a horse that's very progressive. He won at the January meeting. He's got form around there. I just feel like he's probably still in front of the handicapper. He beat a horse of Philip Hobbs's at Bangor first time out that I think is a fairly decent horse. Larry's Bar, he's won I think twice since. He's definitely a horse on the right profile. So I think Jaguar's probably of the handicap horses, he probably will be nearly your favourite, I'd say, but he's definitely, again, one I think that they've always had in the back of the mind. Handicap at Cheltenham was going to be his target, which, when you have a horse good enough to do that with, for trainers thinking that way, it hopefully gets you in the right place. Of all the horses, I'd love to ride Constitution Hill. I think I watched him in the Fighting Fifth 18 months ago when I was up there. I just couldn't believe how easy a horse can win a Grade 1, beating other Grade 1 horses, almost just having a day out. He's just very, very talented, and I think to ride very good horses at speed in the Champion Hurdle is, it's brilliant. So he's the horse I'd like to ride.